Welcome to Everything EFL podcast. My name's Erin O'Byrne and I absolutely love sharing my knowledge with you, my darling teacher, and helping you build not only community but your students' confidence. I truly believe that a positive frame of mind is essential for your students to learn. There's also a bunch of other teachy stuff thrown in for good measure too. Are you ready? Let's go! Hello, you gorgeous teacher. Welcome to Everything EFL. If you are one of my lovely regular listeners, welcome back. If you are a new listener, you are most welcome. I'm delighted to have you. I've noticed there's a bit of a growth. Things are creeping up. I'm getting more listens. If you see my social media, I don't know if you did, but I've had 1,000 listens in the past 6 weeks, which is mind-blowing to me. So thank you for everybody who's listened, everybody who's supported me, and you lovely individuals who you've taken the time to actually email me or comment and tell me how much you've enjoyed the podcast, and you have no idea what that means to me. You know who you are. All right, let's crack on. So this episode, I'm going to share my basic sort of knowledge of things to consider when you are doing a writing task. Now, I'm not talking about here's stage 1, here's stage 2. You can look that stuff up on Google, okay? What I'm going to teach you are some strategies to maybe ease the pain of the writing process or just to make it go a little bit smoother. And at the end, I'll give you a bonus writing activity with movement, collaboration, and cooperation. I mean, what more could you want from an episode? Now, can I just say that writing or teaching writing is not my forte. As you probably know, my passion and strength is more on the sort of psychology side, building confidence and positivity and that kind of thing. However, I'm branching out, trying different things, and, let's see if this helps you. Okay, writing. How do your students feel about it? And how do you feel about teaching it? Inevitably, there are some negative feelings. I think there's a fear of writing. I think this is the one skill that is actively avoided, especially in the homework stage. I'm not going to be able to solve all your problems here, but I do know a couple of things. Now, I'm going to start by saying I do agree with Stephen Krashen. We do not acquire language by producing it, that is, speaking and writing. The ability to produce language is the result of language acquisition, not the cause. Now, more on that next week. I'm going to delve into Stephen's theory of self-selected fiction. I can't wait to share that with you. I think it's fascinating. I hope you do too. Anyway, think about why you're giving them a writing task. Is it part of the syllabus? Is it because you haven't done one in a while? Is it because the students have asked for it? Whatever the reason is, the writing task should be a product of what they have already learned, what is previous knowledge, what's already in their brain, okay? Writing should be an exercise in consolidation of what students already know and should be about topics they are familiar with and already have knowledge of. And this is, I'm going to sidetrack here. This is one of the many reasons I hate the IELTS exam and other sort of academic exams. It doesn't take into account students of countries with maybe lower critical thinking skills or the countries that are maybe more isolated from the rest of the world. They just don't have that much knowledge of the kind of the IELTS-y topics and themes. Anyway, I digress. I'm definitely going to do some episodes about IELTS this year, but back to the matter at hand. So for you, only give students something to write about if the knowledge is already there, or if you've made sure in class or in some of the way they have all the tools they need to complete the task, be it grammar or target language. So that would be my first tip for you there. Make sure they're writing about something they already know. My second tip would be, you've probably noticed writing does take a long time, and, so you may have allocated Monday, do some writing, give it to me tomorrow, so like a day. Or in class, you've allocated a certain amount of time in your lesson for it, and it inevitably takes much longer, or maybe students, haven't completed the writing task in the 24 hours for the homework. Why? Well, in my mind, what the students are thinking about is, I'm not sure how to, do I use the present perfect? Is it the continuous? Is this accountable or uncountable? Is this plural? What they're thinking about is accuracy. I think students And, feel free to disagree with me, but I feel like students are so conditioned to worry about grammar and being correct. They're so worried about it, you don't get free expression. That fear and that sort of, concern about accuracy just stifles their ability just to write. So we as teachers, we have to normalize making mistakes, not just in writing, but, if you promote this idea and the students get it eventually, then the stress will go down. You might get more natural writing or just a more natural flow from your students, because they're less worried about being perfect. Now, this mindset shift for your students, and possibly you if you're too concerned with accuracy, it does take time. I always say everything's a process. You have to sell the idea of, just write. Don't worry about making too many mistakes. You can't expect them to write their opinion and go deeper into complex issues with no mistakes. And more importantly, they shouldn't expect that from themselves either. But do they know this? Just a little dramatic pause there so you can think about that. Students have to remember, and you do too, there's only so much vocabulary you can pre-teach. They've only got so much space in their brain for new information. So make it clear to your students, you're going to do your writing, and then there's another stage to this. I'm going to look at what you've written, and I'm going to make suggestions to you for more natural phrases. Notice, I never use the word correct, I never use the word mistake, I never use the word error. This is all about making changes. My third piece of advice, and I think what I've just said segues very nicely into this, is preparation and scaffolding. I think, as I said before, writing is one of the things that students actively avoid. You have to make sure that every part of the writing task is broken down into digestible stages. Like I said, they have the right vocab or access to a good list or a good writing model, a sample to steal from. And, brainstorming structure and content is a great idea in class. They've got support from other students. The more prepped the student feels, the more likely they will be to write, because that stress level is lowered. So think about, how are you going to stage and scaffold each part of your writing task? Now, my last point is, and again, this is sort of to do with lowering stress levels and stuff. Doing writing individually can be a bit overwhelming, and I would never ask my students to do it individually, and I would never ask them to do it in groups or pairs. I would give them a choice. Simple question before they start. Do you want to work alone or do you want to work in a pair? All right? Because that gives them, that empowers them. Okay, yeah, I'm up for a challenge. I'm going to do it alone. Oh, actually, I think I need a bit of help. I'm going to work with my friend. Fine. What does it matter to you whether they work alone or together? Give them the choice. Pairs are good. Any more people than that, then things start taking a bit too long. There's a little bit too much debate about, again, at the stage where normalising mistakes isn't like a normal thing for them. They're going to be very concerned with getting things correct and stuff like that. So, how do you group your students if they decide they want to work in groups or whatever? Again, if pairs are always better. If you're lucky enough to have a small class, pairs, maybe, weaker and stronger students together is a good combination. But try getting your weaker students to hold the pen and do the writing, and then they're fully included. If you end up with a strong pair, they can alternate the use of the pen, and if they finish before everybody else, obviously you can kind of help them make changes, and then you could split them up and they could join another group each and help them. They can't take the pen, they are just there to assist. Okay, so everybody is busy. Now, if you are doing threes, I would say rotate the pen use, but monitor it so that the stronger student isn't always doing everything. You need everybody to be engaged. So if the stronger student is doing all the writing, the weaker student's just going to get bored, unmotivated, excluded. They're going to switch off and just go, I'm just going to stand here with my arms crossed and let the stronger student do everything because they're not listening to me. I do have, I think as teachers we do this as well. Sometimes we don't give the quieter, weaker students, less confident, whatever you want to call them, we don't give them time to really think, formulate and speak. We ask them a question, we ask them, what do you think? And the cogs are turning, and we don't have the patience to wait for them to answer, so we ask them another question. We have to also eliminate our stronger students getting resentful because they feel like they're doing all the work. So, teaching, my point is teach Teach your stronger students to give their weaker or shyer group mates a little bit of time and space to think and speak and come up with the ideas as well. Train them to do this. Again, everything's a process. You need to keep on at them and monitor them so they're doing this, okay? Weaker students or shyer students, they will be thinking more slowly and they will have more trouble transferring their ideas from the brain to the mouth. Get your stronger students to give them that time and space to think. Get them to step back and say, hold on, just give them a moment. You'll have to monitor and do this. And what you're doing is you're training them. You're training your stronger students to give those weaker students more time. Okay, I hope you found that useful. I do have a bonus activity. Now, like I said, this is a writing activity. Now, on the face of it, it might not be suitable for every age and level. But as teachers, you can think of a way to adapt it. So I'd like you just to listen. Take some mental or physical notes and then think about how can I take this and change it so I can do it for my class, okay? So I like doing writing rotation, okay? Especially for IELTS, where you've got these big heavy essays and they're often quite dull, okay? So I would say let's do it together in 2s or 3s. Have flip chart paper on the wall. Have, I would say maybe the same question task. So it could be a task 2, like what are the problems of inner city living and what are the solutions kind of thing, okay? Have that title above every piece of flip chart paper, have it on the board, do your necessary prep, do your brainstorming, have your ideas on the board, break it down, what's the structure, blah, 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 blah. And then you put your students in front, you put each group in front of every piece of flip chart and you say, okay, you've got 15 minutes to write the introduction, okay? Go for it. Now, if they don't finish, that's okay. It's not about finishing. It's just about collaborating and writing. After that 15 minutes, tell them you're going to change. You're going to move to the next piece of paper. You're going to read what the other group has already written and you're going to continue in a logical fashion. If the other group hasn't finished the introduction, that's okay. They just keep writing. They continue. And then when the introduction is finished, they move on to the next paragraph. Okay? And then, 15 and then give another 15, another 15. Until the groups are finished. Now, obviously, this is something you're going to need a lot of time for this. So, like I said, let's adapt it. Now, maybe with lower levels or younger students or non-exam students, you could do this kind of thing with dialogues. You could write one line of a dialogue on a piece of paper. Have 7 different pieces of paper, 7 different lines of dialogue. They're not connected. They're just on the wall. And then each group has to stand by one piece of paper, read that line, and just add one line, either before or after. And when they're done, they move to another piece of paper. They read the dialogue. Maybe another group has written something. They read everything. They add a line before or after. And they keep going for a little while. Maybe you can put those on Google Docs, make the changes together, however you want to do it. And that was just the first thing that sprang to mind as an alternative. But I'd invite you, this is your challenge for this week. Think a little bit deeper. You know your students best. What would appeal to them? How would you take this kind of writing rotation activity? And what exactly would you do? And then I suppose my second question is, how would you break it down to prepare them? Who would you put together to work, or would you give your students the choice? What kind of topic would it be? And how much time are you going to allocate to it? Do you think you'll be able to do it all in one lesson, or do you think you might have to divide it up over lessons? I think that's okay too. Okay, that's it. So keep an eye out on my social media, guys. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram. Just choose one. I generally put the same content on each. I just know that people like different social medias. So I'm on all 3 of those. I'll probably be addressing this topic in a little video and then maybe invite you to contribute to the discussion. Okay, I'm off to have a cup of tea. Just to remind you that there are a couple of freebies in my show notes, free to download. One is a reflection lesson plan and one is ways to add positivity into your classroom. And I think that's it for this week. So thank you so much for hanging in there and listening until the end. If you enjoy my podcast, talk me up to your colleagues. Share this episode or share another episode that you've listened to one of your colleagues if you think they'll like it. Thank you so much for your support. Have a lovely, peaceful couple of weeks and I'll see you soon. Share the love, guys. Look after yourself. Bye.